Hi, I'm Vanessa Anderson.
And I'm Stephanie Cooley.
It's time to give ourselves a moment to be real, to express all of motherhood.
Mothering is beautiful. It's wonderful.
And you know what? It's fucked up too.
Come hang out with us. We're the real motherfuckers.
Hello. Welcome to the Real Motherfuckers.
I'm Stephanie O.
And I'm Vanessa.
Yeah.
We're here today for, this would be what, our third episode?
Yeah, with Lola.
With our Lola.
And it's a little, wouldn't say sex, but it has to do with the same part that you would use for it.
Yeah.
We're talking about vaginas today. I'm calling this vagina self-care. And before we get into it, I thought that if we're feeling like weirded out by saying all the words around vagina, that we would really dive in and read this poem, okay, that I found on the internet. It was on myvagina.com. Okay. I'm going to read the first half, Vanessa, you can read the second half. Okay. It says, my vagina, strong lips, a pearl, so sensually it drips. A red, throbbing chakra, bleeding with rebirth. A mother's womb, a fire beneath the hearth. For my vagina has many names, and I can tame her with a purr. With fur or without, my pussy is without a doubt a powerhouse. For my vagina has been a home where I have learnt and grown from the, I don't even know what this says here, a word that has a lot of X's, beginning of my hormonal journey. Your turn.
For a journey, my vagina has adventured with tender, is that momentism?
Moments.
It's moments. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it is moments, but there's an M. Pain and endurance. My pussy is my palace, and I reign its domain. A part of me that lives proud and free. Pink lips, a wide gap, so erotically it gushes. Consent and communication, my vagina speaks loud. I remind my body with compassion and love to always be found. Whoa.
Yay. Just in case we felt a little funny saying all the pussy words, we dove right in.
We did.
Yeah.
We even had some little, some crazy ass typos in there. I'm all, what's momentums? Oh my gosh. So excited about today.
Yeah.
So excited about today. Do you have some more for this?
No,
intro?
that was it. I just wanted to intro with a poem.
So
yeah.
I just have to say, and you can, for those of viewers that know me and have known me since middle school and high school, I love to say pussy is one of my favorite words in every way. I think pussy is such a powerful word. I love it. It's funny. It's fun. It makes me feel powerful. I think it's a part of me, obviously, that's, especially in womanhood, has become a powerful little woman, big woman, so I am so excited to talk to you. You're going to have some fantastic things to say, and I can't wait to laugh and just be educated. So without further ado, here comes our Lola. L'Amour.
Wait, can I interject really quick? I was sitting here thinking about if I should say it, but I'm just going to fucking say it. The word pussy makes me feel extremely uncomfortable. I feel like it's been it has taken a lot for me to just push through. Because I think that I've grown up associating with that's not appropriate. That's not the right way you call your vagina. I don't know, and I think I also grew up with not saying vagina.
So what'd you call it?
I don't know, hoo-ha. I was in that generation where you don't say it. It's taboo to talk about it. And I think that when we started doing this podcast, I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to push through
and use the P word.
And I'm also I consider myself a feminist, and I am is this the right feminist thing to say? Yes? No? I don't know. I feel like there's so many interpretations to this. So anyway.
Well, I love the word.
That's some truth bombs
I'm proud
for
of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like saying pussy, because I wanted to make it powerful. Go ahead.
I really love this because there's so much power in naming. And there is so much about talking about our vagina, our pussy, our yoni, whatever we want to call her, it has been a taboo topic. And this is something that I actually was working on with a client recently. And she said, what do I call it in bed if I don't want to call it like my vulva or my vagina in the medical terms? I don't feel comfortable or authentic saying pussy. What other options do I have? And if you read any sort of erotica or look even in the dictionary, there's not a lot of options for us folks, because it's not like we're igloos with snow and we have 49 words for snow, because it's such a big part of our reality. Even though our vaginas and our vulvas are a huge part of our reality, they don't get talked about in our culture in the same way. So we don't have a lot of words. We don't have a lot of language. And so my client asked me, well, like, what do you call yours? Like, how do you do dirty talk in your bedroom? And I'm probably in the middle between you two. So I am comfortable with the word pussy. I don't mind it at all. But it might not be my go-to when I'm talking about my body. And so my husband and I have come up with a whole host of other things that we use to refer to ourselves and our body parts that almost creates like a different level of intimacy, because it's our language. It's not like part of the cultural dialect. It's not slang terms. It's something that we can embrace and take ownership for ourselves. So I might call it my cuevita, which is like my little cave in Spanish. I might call it a petunia, which is like our funny nickname for it, is like petunia. And then Tigray has his own body part nickname that I will not share, but it also starts with a P. And then we have like language for what happens with our bodies when we have intercourse and there is like a bit of a mess, and we're like, oh, look, it's La Laguna, the lake has returned, instead of like, oh, that's the wet spot. So we play with language a lot. And I think it's really important to have all sides really addressed here, because there is a lot of discomfort with using the different terminology that we have available. So I want to encourage everybody who's listening to start getting creative. Maybe there are words in other languages that might resonate. Maybe you can come up with your own terminology that feels like a secret language between you and your partner, or you and yourself. And it can make it a whole lot more fun as well, like talking about petunias and lagunas and cuevitas is way more fun for me than being like my yoni. Because even though I do treat myself like I'm a temple in a sacred space, I also like to bring a lot of humor and joy into the process. And sometimes using those words is like, I can't be goofy if I'm like, this is my yoni, So it just feels important to talk about that right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. No, it's true. And I think I've always liked to talk about taboo things. That's why the element of our podcast is that. And I think, there's things that she's comfortable with that I'm not, and you're bringing in the bridge to that. I think it's amazing. But yeah, I never thought to add nicknames. So I'm writing that in my notes. I think that's a great idea.
I think the thing that I'm also thinking about is talking to our daughters and our children about the name of it too. And I think I had read something early on as a mother about, just thinking about safety with our children's private parts and not giving them play names, because it's not a place for them to. It's not, it's a private part. It's something that needs to be sacred and safe. And so that's why I think I consciously use the, scientific type of name. And I think that I love the plaything. Is it something that we just do with our husbands and our partners? And then is there a right way of what we call it with our children?
Yeah. I know. I still use private with my kids, but in the medical terms. But I think when they get older,
it's definitely, it's tricky. And I think that there are those boundaries that we can hold with our kids, especially our daughters, that there's a great level of empowerment in not creating shame or embarrassment around using vulva, using vagina, talking about labia, and just like getting to know what your actual body parts are, so you can have an informed conversation later in life without having all of this shame around like, oh, I can't even say those words.
Yeah.
And I think that's really empowering. And I think it's a great line to hold when you're parenting a child. However, when you bring that into the bedroom with your partner, it's often not super sexy. It's like, oh, yes, I love it when you massage my labia. It's like, it's not
Yeah,
necessarily a turn
exactly.
on.
I do not use those
Um,
words.
I know. I was gonna
yeah.
say,
So it's like, that's not going to do it for most people unless you're like a sex scientist or something. I don't even know if it
Yeah,
would do it
yeah.
then. But I think it's great to differentiate, and it's complicated when you're a mom because we've talked about this before. We don't want to like deny our sexual self. At the same time, we want to empower our children in a way that's healthy and balanced. So I'm always kind of exploring what that looks like in my family.
So the reason why I was excited about this conversation is because I had a previous conversation with you and another friend about steaming your vagina. And then it got into this whole realm of opening my mind to thinking like there is so many ways that you can care for and respect and hold space for your vagina that I am not freaking doing and I'm excited to learn about. Um because I use it for intercourse. I use it, you know, to feel better, when I'm in the bedroom by myself as well. But I don't actually like do anything to like, well, I actually also wax it, but I don't do anything to like care for it, like the steaming thing or massage or, all
yeah.
of these types of things. I don't know if like the larger public of women do this.
I know I didn't know this when I was so jealous that this conversation happened when I wasn't there, and I was loving like kind of the info, and I said, stop, we have to have this on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I think most women, we care more about our hair and our face than we do the rest of our body sometimes. And I feel like we have so much maintenance already that Miss Vagina gets the last of that maintenance.
Yeah.
And so now I'm so excited to learn about this today, Lola, and I cannot wait. And whatever products you're recommending, I have my little notepad over there. I'm ready to get this pussy steamed.
That's so great. I love it. And I love that this is the conversation because we don't talk about self-care with our vulvas and our vaginas. It's kind of like an afterthought, if even thought about at all. It's like, obviously we clean up after ourselves after sex, and we all have heard like you have to pee after sex, otherwise bad things happen. But that's like the extent of it. And as one of my clients said, like, hello, design flaw. Like, why do we have to go pee after sex? That's fucked up. Like, that's annoying. Like, well, yeah, it's annoying, but also it's an invitation to, cleanse our bodies, which our bodies are always inviting us into as women. So yeah, steaming, like let's start with that because it is such an ancient practice. This has been a way that women took care of their bodies, took care of gynecological problems. This was our doctor for centuries upon centuries. And it's something that had almost gotten lost to time. And I'm so glad that it's coming back because there are any number of genuine like medical issues. And I'm not a doctor, but there are a number of studies that have been done about how gynecological problems like yeast infections, like bacterial vaginosis, like UTIs, like fibroids, even, that these things can receive a lot of support from a steaming practice. And it seems like, well, how could that be possible? You're just sitting over like tea steaming up into your vagina. Like, how could that really do anything? It's just herbs. And I think that we've lost a connection culturally with just how potent and gentle herbal medicine can be. And so if somebody's like, I don't really buy it, there is a woman named Kelly Garza who's also known online as Steamy Chick. And she kind of brought this conversation back to the mainstream and actually did some scientific studies, peer-reviewed studies around what the impact of vaginal steaming can be on our overall gynecological health. And the results were mind-blowing, like absolutely mind-blowing. For the sciencey, rational, I need data to kind of back up my decisions, she's a really good resource. And she ended up creating this whole like STEAM practitioner certification program that a lot of women in my circles have been through and have learned so much about how to support yourself throughout your cycle with steaming. So I'm going to share what I do and how I support myself with steaming. And then you can link to her website and another website that I'm going to recommend as well as a resource for steaming products, steaming information. So anytime that I feel like I'm a little stagnant down there, and what I mean by I'm starting to smell not the best, not enjoying, maybe I feel a little bit itchy, maybe my discharge is changing a little bit. That could be because I've had sex and maybe haven't fully released my body from all of that um, basic pH, right, which semen is. So I need to rebalance my acids. I need to put my vaginal flora back into balance. The first place that I go is my steaming chair. And I have a steaming chair, which not everybody needs. Like our good friend who also brought up this topic, what she uses is just like a jar and then kind of like kneels over it and wraps herself with a towel. So you can keep a steam very, very basic. I like to be a little bit more comfortable. So one of my good friends actually started a company where she builds these gorgeous, very simple steaming chairs. And I bought one of those to support her. And then it's been supportive of my practice. So what I'll do is I'll brew up a pot of herbs, like in a big, just kind of like normal kitchen crock. And I will put the lid on, bring it to a boil. And you can even just Google search, like, what's a good vaginal steaming herb mix for bacterial vaginosis, for yeast infection, for after period, for other issues that you might be facing to balance pH. And you'll get a number of recipes from herbalists that say like white sage, rose, calendula. There's a number of different herbs that are just really fantastic for vaginal health. And they're similar herbs that you would drink. Like they have all the same properties that they would have if you're taking them in a tincture or a tea. And they're just going directly into your reproductive area instead. So I'll brew up my herbs, cook them on the stove for, 5-6 minutes till I get a good boil going, pull them off of the heat, put the pot inside of my steaming chair, which is just like a little square box that's built for this with a lid that has a hole cut out in the center so you can sit on it and get the steam to come up. Take the lid off and actually let the lid, let it kind of release that first minute or two of steam because it is so hot that if you sit down right away, you have a very real chance of burning your vulva, which none of us wants to experience. So you want to let that heat kind of like pump out a little bit before you sit down on it. And then you just sit down on your steaming chair or kneel over your jar of steaming water, steaming tea with the herbs still in it. And then you wrap yourself with a blanket or a towel so that the steam gets held in and it's not just wafting all around. You want to direct the steam and then you just relax. It's a really good time to meditate, to bring more awareness to your breathing. I actually recorded a guided womb healing meditation for my friend Katara, who makes the steaming stools for Katara, their product line. So there's like a womb meditation you can get when you purchase things through her that I recorded. And it's just a beautiful time to connect with yourself. And you only steam for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Sometimes people will put a little portable burner inside of their steaming stool and then put their pot on top of that and then just keep the steam going like over a low heat so you can stay for longer and the steam continues to kind of billow up. But you don't need to. And it can just be a very quick, efficient practice. And what I've noticed by doing that is, first of all, it's building a habit of listening to my body and listening for when things are just a little bit off kilter and doing something proactive about it that's holistic earlier on in the process than waiting to be like, well, let me just wait a couple more days and see. Like maybe it's not a UTI. Maybe it's not a yeast infection. Maybe it'll go away by itself. Maybe I just need to, take a shower and use some pH balanced body wash. So instead of waiting and seeing, I'm just saying, hey, you're telling me something. You're giving me a little whisper that I need a little course correction right now. I would rather do that with something gentle like steam than wait for a full-blown UTI. And then I've waited so long, I really do have to go and get antibiotics or I do have to go down a more kind of severe route. And that's
Yeah.
fine. Like when we have to do that, we have to do that. I'm thankful that we have those things available to us. But if I can head it off at the pass, I'm going to do that instead. And the beautiful thing as a mom about having a steaming practice is that my daughter has a different vocabulary around how she can support her body. So sometimes she'll come to me and say, Mom, it's stinging a little bit when I'm peeing. Can I do a steam? And she asks for it because she's seen me do it. And so I'll prepare steam for her and she'll do the same thing. And I've sent pictures to my friend Kit, who runs Katara Love. And I'm like, look, Kit, Lyra's steaming again, and she's like, this is the best. It's so cool that an 8-year-old child can recognize when she feels off, when she wants to rebalance herself, and can have this like healthy, gentle practice to return back to a balanced state. And it works, like I will find that if I feel like I'm starting to get a UTI or my pH feels like it's off, my scent is off track, I'm just not feeling quite right. When I do that proactively, it really does head it off at the pass. And, I have dealt with, go ahead.
I was going to say, what a beautiful thing to teach our daughters is to feel and understand and listen to our bodies. And I feel like that's something I would love to teach my daughter. And I'm glad that she's still young and I could start instilling that with her.
Yeah, because we do show them how to groom themselves, not just to brush their hair, but to clean and all that stuff. So this is the other layer to it, which is beautiful. I was also going to say, I have a ritual like on Sundays. On Sundays, I do my yoga. I come home, I exfoliate my face. I put on my favorite podcast that inspires me. And I put on my mud mask or my avocado chocolate mask that I love. It's like, instead of waiting until my vagina itches or stinks or whatever the case may be, should I just say, hey, on Sundays or on Wednesdays, those are my steaming days? I mean,
I love that.
Is that probably would be a healthy practice to do?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. It's a healthy practice at any time. The only time when you don't want to steam is when you're bleeding on your moon cycle itself, because it opens up all of the capillaries and it can increase blood flow. So you don't do it while you're bleeding, but any other time is a wonderful time to steam. And in fact, after you're finished with your bleed, it's a great way to help the uterus completely release all of that like old blood, all of the stuff that just kind of accumulates and maybe comes out with your discharge for the next few days. It's like, let's open it all up and cleanse it all out completely so that my next bleed starts fresh. And I have noticed that over time, the more that I incorporate steaming into those other parts of my moon cycle, like my blood is fresher. It smells less funky. Like there's less decay happening inside of my body, so that when I'm releasing, it's just a fresh release. And that feels wonderful. It's so nice to feel like what you're letting go of is not stagnation, but just a current release cycle.
That's amazing. And what would you recommend this, maybe after sex, even if you felt like you needed to pull more out? I mean, that seems like it would be the, you had something happen down there, kind of give it some love and, care. I mean, that's when I feel like I would do it. Feels like that would be an appropriate time.
It's a great time if it like works for you and you're not, it's not late at night and you're like, all right, I'm going to go pee and then pass out. If you have a little space, it's beautiful to do a steam after sex. And in fact, it feels really good. And my daughter was commenting on this. She's like, Mommy, it feels kind of funny down there when the steam is hitting me. Like, what is that? And I was like, oh, well, it might actually be arousing you a little bit. And she's like, what does that mean? And so then we got into a really beautiful conversation about what is arousal and what is happening with that. And it's like in not a non-sexual context for her, which I feel like is super appropriate, and like normalizing the different sensations that we get in our body. But as an adult female, it can be kind of a sensual, delicious, delightful sensation to have the steam wafting up onto your body. And that feels good. And so after sex, it's like, oh yeah, like let's just have this gentle cleanse. Like how delicious is that?
Oh my gosh. I think when I purchase this stuff, that's going to be my first thing. I'm like, hang on, honey, I'm going to start the crock pot. And now we're down so that it'll be ready.
Yep.
That's right. Get it simmering while you're like in your foreplay.
While we're simmering, this is going to be simmering.
That's
Okay,
right.
so our very good friend who we had this conversation with, I am so embarrassed to say she made me a tea. I don't know how long ago this was, and I haven't used it.
Shame.
I know.
You know,
But yes, she has like the instructions, exactly what you said too. She has, I don't know how to say these.
Dong Quai root.
Dong Quai root,
Dong
Shingnite,
Quai,
passion flower, angelica root, chamomile, calendula, and pink salt. So she has
Beautiful.
a wonderful blend. I will use it.
I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
Say crock pot on.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's our new thing. Cock part on.
Cock part on.
Cock pot. After cock pot.
That could be your pet name for your yoni, right? This is
Yeah.
my cock pot.
Cock pot. Oh my God, that's amazing. I mean, that doesn't turn me on whatsoever, but that's a brilliant name. Pot. Cock pot. Oh my God.
Yeah. There you go. See,
Yeah.
that's how these things happen in life.
Yeah.
That's
This
right.
is amazing. I love this. I am all about I'm a simple person, and this is my day when I actually do my makeup when we do the podcast. It's just like, it makes me feel good to do it once a week or so. I'm usually in a hat and don't do
Yeah.
my hair, and I'm happy that way. But I love to care for myself. And now that I have an extra reason to and an extra tool to do it, I'm so excited. I'm like, more fun things to like experience with my
Yeah.
body, to make myself feel clean, anything that can optimize my body, my mind, and my soul, I'm in. So thanks for optimizing my cock pot.
Yeah, no problem. Cockpot optimization. That'll be on my business card next time.
Cock pot optimization. I can't.
I don't have.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know if my crock pot is that brand crock pot, but if it is, I'm totally gonna chisel it out, put cock pot on it,
Do it.
or just put a little rooster on it.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
anyway, that's amazing. I mean, is there anything else that you can tell us about steaming vaginas that you feel is essential to know? Because I feel like you covered a lot.
Well, I covered a lot. I think one of the pieces that has made it more enjoyable for me lately is, how can I make this experience as comfortable as possible? Like, where do I want to have my steaming seat in my house? Where do I want to do this ritual? How can I make it that much more like sensual for myself, or comfortable at the very least? And so I have a sex blanket, which is a waterproof blanket that you can lay down, and like, it will alleviate the fear of making a mess in your bed. La Laguna has a home that can then go in the washing machine instead of having to sleep in her, which is not always preferable. But I have found that it's also great for steaming because it holds the steam in. It's got a waterproof membrane in between two layers of like delicious feeling fleece. And so it's really cozy and it holds the steam in really nice. Whereas sometimes if I've used a thinner blanket or a towel or something, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just not the experience that I'm looking for. I always want to create elevated experiences for myself and my people. So I recommend something like that where it's really cozy.
Yeah.
And then I do it at the side of my bed so that I can just kind of like put my head on my arms, my forearms, and lean onto the side of my bed and just kind of like fully relax into it. And that feels comfortable too, because if you're on your sit bones on like a stool, or if you're kneeling over a jar, you can kind of get fatigued and it doesn't feel so great. And then you're not going to be motivated to do it. So anytime you can create comfort with these rituals, it's going to be more motivating and desirable to follow through on your intention, which might be why you haven't done it yet, Stephanie, because you don't have a vision for like, how am I actually going to do this? Like, I have the herbs, but like, what next? And how can we make it easier and more comfortable for ourselves to follow through on our desires, you know?
Yeah, I'm seriously going to get a rooster sign, put it on my door, so then people know it's cockpot time. And then
That's right.
I think this is my question for you. So say you're done steaming and you say to do it for how long? to steam for how
10,
long?
15 minutes.
Okay. And then when you're done, because when I'm thinking like when you're in a steam room, you're sweating. Is that your vagina technically sweating out, or is it clean? I mean, do you wipe when you're done? What's the deal when you're done with it?
Yeah, totally. Great questions. I get up and kind of like dry myself off because your whole like undercarriage will be quite steamy feeling. You'll notice your skin is really rosy, and you're probably going to be sweating. Like your thighs will be sweaty, your ass cheeks will be sweaty, like everything will be a little bit sweaty, but it's clean. And so you don't need to go shower afterwards. If you don't want to, you certainly can. But I just like, towel myself off. I might probably just use my same steam blanket and just kind of wipe myself down, and then stick that in the washer if it's time for that to get cleaned. And then I take my pot of herbs and water, which is now like lukewarm, and I just toss it in the garden so it can just like go feed the garden. And then I rinse my pot out. And then I'm done. So if you just like mop yourself up, that's all you really need to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, I was like, now that I'm envisioning the process, because those are things like, all right, you're sitting there and you're done, and you're like, do I wipe? Do I shower?
Yeah.
So thank
What
you
do
for
I
that.
do?
Yeah, what's the next step? And I know that like it's sometimes self-explanatory, but because you just did that beautiful cleansing, I didn't want to take away from like when you have a facial and they steam you and they do all that stuff. It's like you don't want to wipe it all away. They just replenished you. So it's kind of how I was picturing this. So thank you.
Exactly.
Hey.
And you might feel like you need to pee when the steam hits you, because it does like stimulate you in a way. And so you might be like, you know what, I kind of want to just take a piss in this bucket of herbs. Like, I don't know if that's okay or not. So go pee ahead of time. That's my recommendation. Is pee first and then steam.
Can I cut you off and tell you I need to pee? So I'm going to walk away. I really need to pee.
Biological needs.
So this
for the
is where
win.
we'll have a quick commercial break.
We would like to thank our sponsor, Avo Aesthetics Med Spa. Vanessa has been a patient for a while, and have you seen her face? This 40-year-old doesn't look a day over 35. When you walk into their spa, it's beautiful, relaxing, and inviting. Make sure to check out the owner, Melissa Starica's cool vintage furniture while you're there. She has the medical knowledge, but what makes this spot so unique is that she's dealt with skin issues herself. Melissa listens to your concerns, and it's why she has longtime clients who keep coming back to her to boost their self-esteem. Find out more at avomedspa.com.
Hey, wash my hands.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you got your little shirt to dry.
I am wearing a towel shirt, so I can just do this.
You are. You can just like
she's on it. She's like, this shit's efficient.
That's right.
I was telling Lola that this has been so helpful. Yeah, we have that pussy song. That your friend could sponsor that song with her. We can put her little product. Be like, if your pussy be stinky, get you a little pot with some herbs. COCKPOTS.
Okay, can we talk about self-massage?
Mm.
And is that the same as masturbating? I'm assuming not.
You are assuming correctly.
Okay.
Self-massage is a beautiful practice. And when I talk about like a self-pleasure practice, it's not all about using tools or hands to bring yourself to orgasm, to masturbate. There's other ways of enjoying yourself and also getting to know yourself that don't have to have like a goal or an outcome that you're seeking. And massage is such a great way to do that for yourself or with a partner, where you really are genuinely just massaging your tissues, like massaging your mons pubis, massaging your labia internally and externally. And there's a great product for this that's you can use for a lubricant, but I prefer it for more of massage context, and it's called pussy butter, our favorite word.
Yeah.
I can send you guys a link. It's beautiful. It doesn't throw your pH off balance, which sometimes products can do, which is unfortunate because that makes for even more of a need of preventative self-care or reactive self-care. So pussy butter is a product that's made with cocoa butter, and rose. And so it smells delicious. It smells like rose chocolate. And so when you use it, it warms to your body temperature. And it's a very, very nice feeling massage oil. I mean, you could use it for your back or your legs, or have your partner work with any of your body parts, and it would be delightful. I just happen to enjoy that it's called pussy butter, and it's made for yoni massage. And it's a beautiful product. And so you can apply that to yourself, and just like you would with any other massage, it's about releasing tension. It's about helping your tissues relax. It's about enjoyment. And so, like, as I'm talking about this, I'm like massaging my thighs, right? I'm just like, oh yeah, that feels so good, you know? And so we can really benefit from giving ourselves a good old fashioned pussy massage. And, you know, if it decides to want to go in a more sexual direction, and you have the space, like, by all means, enjoy yourself, but it doesn't have to go that way. It could just be a way of releasing tension and getting to know yourself and honoring yourself, and frankly, unpacking whatever shame or guilt you have about touching yourself, because we really do carry a lot, many of us women, around, like, it's not okay to touch ourselves. We don't like our vaginas and our vulvas. We think that they're ugly, or we just don't have a good relationship with our own bodies. And so this is a really great way of, like, neutralizing our connection with our pussy, so that it's not all sexual all the time. And it's another place that needs love and attention, just like all of our bodies. So I would say yes, like, it is a very different thing from masturbation, and it might lead to it, but it doesn't have to, and it doesn't always.
That's a great way to look at it. And I do have to say, like, the exploration down there does become very judgmental for me personally. And I feel like I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh my God, I need to shave. Oh my God. You know what I mean? There's, like, you know, all these like little things where I'm like, who cares? Like, it's me, you know?
You know, it's an interesting,
it's you.
It's me.
Yeah. An interesting thought too is, like, I remember when I was giving birth and the doctor was like, do you want a mirror? And I immediately thought, no, I don't want to see down there like that. And I feel like maybe today I would feel differently, you know, just being able to honor myself more.
Yeah.
And how many of us take a mirror down there and look at it and think, like, that looks amazing. I want to get to that place where I look at it with a mirror down there and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, you look good.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You know what?
Like,
Look down there. You know what made me look down there? Fried green tomatoes. Did you ever see that movie? You've never seen Fried Green Tomatoes? That lady goes to that woman class and they're like, now you may take off your drawers and here's your mirrors. And they're like, there's all these like Southern women. Yeah. So I think I was like 10 when I watched that movie. So I went and got my mom's mirror and I'm all.
That's awesome.
That was my first experience really looking at my vagina was because of Fried Green Tomatoes. So thank you, Fried Green Tomatoes. One of my faves. But
that's so great.
I mean, that was one of the first concepts of a woman even exploring that part of them was that movie for me. Like for me to see women be together and not be ashamed to try that. But the context of it was the main character did have a problem with it, right? She wasn't comfortable with herself on a lot of aspects. I bet she did look at her pussy at the end of that movie. That girl was knocking down walls. But I just think it's important for us to be okay with that. And I am so excited that I'm still feeling very sexual and sexy and being able to do that. And you've helped with this process. And I've never heard you until today say that you know, have explored down there. So I'm very proud of you. Oh. That was like the first time I've ever heard you say that. So yay!
Yeah, totally.
That's so huge.
So as far as aesthetics go, let's talk about pubic hair.
Yes, this is interesting to me. I cannot wait.
I looked up pubic hair. If there's a use for it. Obviously, there is a use for it. It's supposed to be, I read with ACOG, it was like to keep it clean. And I personally wax it all off. So I don't know if that's a bad thing.
It ain't clean no more?
No, I mean, no hair? It's being washed. It will soon be steamed. but it also is hairless. And I have this,
Yep.
like, I've started doing it, I don't know, 15 years ago. It's like hardly any hair grows back anymore. Every wax technician that works on me is like, thank God this bitch doesn't have that much hair. But like, as I've had my daughter, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't, even if I could, I can't grow it back to show her like the, the natural process of how hair grows, down there.
When it starts for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how I'm going to approach that. I want her to appreciate herself down there with hair. But I also know that like she may make that choice to take it off too. There's so many layers to this. I don't even know
There
where to
is.
begin.
I'm a 50-50
So many.
girl. I'm 50%
Right, 'cause, like,
hairy, 50% not.
It
but-
was me taking this hair off a product of me wanting to take it off, or me wanting to take it off to look good for the other sex?
Yeah.
Right.
There's so much to unpack here.
Well, in the 90s, we even took out our eyebrows too much. I mean, I feel like we were like the hairless,
Yeah,
like
Oh
at
my
all
God.
of these generations.
totally.
We whacked every
Yeah,
fucking hair we
we
had.
did. We
I'm
did.
like,
I remember girls waxing
Oh, yeah.
their arm hair off too.
dude, one of my
Yeah.
friends shaved her toes,
Yeah.
shaved every part
Whoa.
of herself. So, I mean, go for it. But
Yeah.
I'm a 50-50. I got 90s pussy, so got a little bit of hair.
Yeah, a little
bit of-
landing
yeah,
strip.
I do have I have an area to show
Yeah.
it's coming.
Oh my
So-
gosh, it feels so good when they're like, lift your legs up and like, yes, get the butt hairs.
in between ones, like those are the ones that straggle out. It's like a rose
Totally.
garden, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear you heard our little jabber about it, but educate us.
Yeah.
I love this conversation so much just because we don't talk about this stuff ever. And so it's so liberating to just give a voice to these kinds of questions and to what everybody's choices are and the things that we navigate with these choices. Because it's complicated. Body hair for women is so complicated. We get so much messaging. We have pornography that has like one pretty narrow aesthetic in most porn out there. So if anyone's been exposed to that, you're like, well, that's like a surgically altered, completely naked vagina. Like, I guess that's what the dudes want because that's what I see everywhere. And there were actually studies done where two groups of women were shown different pictures of women's vulvas. And one set of pictures were surgically altered and one set of pictures weren't. And the group of women who saw the surgically altered vulvas first thought that the non-surgically altered vulvas were less beautiful. The women who were shown the natural, non-altered pictures first and then the altered pictures thought the natural ones were more beautiful. So there really is like the law of primacy, which means like the first thing we're exposed to has a great level of influence on our opinions. That when we've been exposed to all this messaging about how we're supposed to look, it's very easy to look at what we've got going on and go, something's not quite right with this. Like, I'm ugly, or I don't like how I'm made. I need to fix it. And sometimes we can go into managing our pussy hair from that perspective. And then when we go about it from a different perspective, we still have to like unpack what's our real motivation here? Like, is it authentic to me and my desires as myself, or is it because I'm catering to this imagery that I've been exposed to, or this expectation I have, or the aesthetic that seems to be preferable to my partner, to the opposite sex? And it's probably a mixture of all of that, right? Like, I don't know that we're ever going to be completely able to separate like, oh no, like I am 100% certain that this is 100% my desire and I have no influence from pornography or culture or whatever. Like, I don't know that that's going to be possible. I don't think it can be completely clean, but we can bring consciousness to it. And I've been reading these great books for my daughter about puberty and just the process of body change that happens for us as women when we transition from girls to women's bodies. And body hair was brought up. And she's like, well, Mom, if body hair is supposed to be there, then why don't you have yours? Because I am shaved. Like, I shave myself clean. But she has seen me before when I didn't do that. So she has exposure to me having hair and not having hair. And it's been a great fodder for conversation because we are so open about bodies in this household. And I said, well, I've had body hair and I've also not had body hair. And right now in my life, when I'm super active and I'm, doing a bunch of stuff, to me, it just feels physically better. I know that it has a purpose, and we can talk more about what that purpose is in just a second. But for me right now, shaving off my pubic hair actually feels really good. I feel smoother. I feel more access to my own lubrication, which then increases my own personal arousal when I'm with myself or with a partner. I like to be able to feel myself. And right now, my pubic hair feels like it kind of gets in the way of that. It's not adding to my sensual connection with myself. I mean, I didn't say those words to my daughter, but to me, like that's really my truth in this moment, whether it's completely separated from aesthetic programming that I've also received, I can't say, but I know that I'm enjoying it in this moment. And I'm like, fuck yes, if I could have it be where I don't have to do that to clear myself up, if I could get lasers, I might do that right now because it's feeling really good. But then again, that would be a more permanent solution. And I might not always feel that way. So I'm going with shaving for the moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But pubic hair does serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice that on both men and women, we naturally develop a lot of pubic hair around our mons pubis, and men will also have a lot around their scrotum, around their balls. And it's can be because of protection, right? It offers a little tiny bit of cushioning against jostling about that could happen. It pads us with our pubic bone. So it can help us stay away from like very minor injury because it pads us and cushions us a little bit. It's also a place for our pheromones to collect. So while you might think that, oh, that sounds like unhygienic, like, ugh, I want to clean my pubic hair, I don't want it to smell like anything. In fact, our body odor is one of the primary drivers for attraction, right? And so it's not that you want your yoni to be like smellable by the world, but when you have a pheromonal match with someone, part of what's unconsciously happening is that their olfactory glands are transmitting a message to their brain that this is a compatible person because at a very subtle level, they're able to sense you. And if you don't have pubic hair, your pheromones are not going to be as perceptible. So it might not be a strategy to shave off all of your pubic hair until you're already in a committed partnership, right? Because then you've had a chance for that animal magnetism, that deeper attraction to potentially develop, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want with your pussy, right? Like, great. But it's interesting to consider that we have all of these more primal, ancient purposes for what's happening with our bodies. And it is natural for us to have pubic hair. So I like to think about those things. And I talked about some of that with my daughter. It's like it's a cushion. And sometimes it can help us in funny ways, kind of like find our right person, even though we're not even like seeing that in the other person. But holding on to our smells is something that we have been trained out of in this culture.
Yeah.
Like we're not supposed to smell. We're supposed to smell like a garden, or we're supposed to smell like sandalwood, or certainly not human, and our vaginas, that's the smell is a very activating thing to talk about, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we got something going on there, ladies, and we got to talk about that.
So keep your scratch and sniff until you get your partner.
Yeah.
And then you can
maybe
consider.
No, something to consider.
No, I did get laser, and it's only effective. I did the whole like bikini thing. Your hair does come back, not a lot. So just for anyone out there, it is pricey.
Yeah.
You do have to do however sessions they say, and then you have to do like 1 or 2 a year after. But I'm a favor of whatever. I think pubic hair is generational. I feel like everyone had a different style in the 70s. They still carried that through, you know. It might be a little fluffier down there. We go to changing rooms with ladies. We see everyone's style. But I think, me and my husband read about this. We were cracking up. I'm like, I love the way your balls smell. Apparently They're like that.
Oh my gosh, I have all these memories when Gabe and I first met of just he's stinky armpit, smells like onions, but I'm like,
I want to breathe. I want to breathe
Exactly.
that chemistry.
And they feel the same about us.
Yeah.
They do. And that's part of how you know you're with a quality match at a very deep and ancient level. Now that
I
doesn't
love
talk
that.
about like communication skills and all the other things you need, but like at a
Yeah.
chemical level, you're a good match.
I'm just thinking if I would have heard this when I was like 19 or 20, this podcast, and I'm dating, I'd be like all weirdly like smelling the chonies or something when they're not in the room. Like, is this making me?
let me
Oh,
smell,
is this
let
a
me
good
smell your
or a
pubic
bad
hair and see
smell?
if we're compatible.
Am I biologically in love? What the fuck is this?
Exactly.
So if you're hearing this before you have quote unquote the one,
Yeah.
fucking smell those chonies when they're in the
Yeah.
bathroom. The ones they just used. I love it.
Oh my goodness.
So are you?
But I feel like I just want to say, like, to each their own. And as long as we're playfully open to exploring what is right for us, go for it. Like pubic hair, not pubic hair, landing strip, full bush, like whatever it is that feels right to you, like honor that, celebrate that, and let it be fuel for your sensual connection with yourself and a partner versus a barrier. Because very often the things that we as women are like, well, that's hideous. Why would he ever like that? They actually really do like those things because it's ancient programming in their brains. So don't resist your femininity.
Totally. And man, I'm all about the sound effects. So if you got a little bit of forest, if you got a little bit of skin to skin, you got the. You all know that sound when you just get waxed or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a different sound to sex, and some of us are turned on by it.
Yep.
Some of us are. You're hitting it good. You get that skin to skin.
Right.
There's a little bit muffled. It's a little bit, don't hear it as much.
Yeah, it's different.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's the truth. When you get groomed down there and it's nice, and I feel more sexual. Like hearing that sound.
Totally.
And I'm a sound effects girl.
Okay.
Love it.
Can we talk about probiotics?
Yes.
And what that
oh
has
my
to
gosh.
do with our vajayjay.
Probably everything that has to do with it.
Game changer. Probiotics are so powerful. Now they're marketed as like this, magic bullet fix all solution to all things vagina. I don't know that they are. However, when our vaginas are at their happiest, it is because we have a really healthy balance of our bacterial flora and our pH level. And when either of those things get funky, that's when we're more prone to things like infection, bacterial vaginosis, candida overgrowth, UTIs, you name it. And so it behooves us to support our vaginal bacteria balance in all the different ways that we can. And we can do that through steaming, but also through probiotics. And there are a couple of different ways that we can work with probiotics. Now, interestingly, the way that if you take an oral probiotic specifically for your vaginal flora, the way that bacteria gets into your vagina, like, have you ever thought about, well, how does that actually happen? Because our vagina is not part of our digestive tract. So like, how does it get from my stomach into my yoni? And the way that it happens is when you take a poop after you've taken your probiotics, some of the bacteria has made it all the way through your digestive tract and migrates. Right. So you're like, oh my God, wait, what? It's coming from my poop.
Yeah.
That is the truth, my friends.
Whoa.
So that's how an oral probiotic can support your vaginal flora, because once you're down there in the rectum and the perineum, in the vaginal canal and the vulva, it's all very close together down there, right? As we know. So that's one way to do it. And it does help, right? It really does help. Even though it sounds disgusting, potentially, it does help. However, you can do probiotic suppositories, and that's where it's more of a direct line application where you take a little dissolvable capsule stick it up your yoni right into your vaginal canal. And as the gel dissolves, those probiotics are delivered straight to the vaginal canal. And
Wow.
that's what I prefer to do,
That's a trip.
especially if I'm
Is
just
this
off of
meant to
my
take
moon
every
cycle
day
where
as
you're,
a
go ahead.
preventative thing, or do you do this? Can you do this like, oh, I'm feeling like I don't have time to steam, but I can stick this up there if I'm feeling
Yep.
icky?
Totally. I will do that because I recently on my last annual exam, I was like, I feel like something's a little bit off,
Mhm.
like, can you just run a series of labs for what you pull out in my pap smear? Because I feel like, I don't know, something feels off. And sure enough, they came back and said, yeah, you tested positive for bacterial vaginosis. Like, very, very common diagnosis. I didn't have any of the traditional symptoms, probably because I have such a regular wellness routine. I didn't have funky smells. My discharge wasn't funky. It just felt off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, thank God I have this information. So now I can tackle it in a couple of different ways. If I want to, I could have done like an antibiotic regimen for a week or so, which a lot of people do. I've done that certainly before for UTIs and things like that. But I felt like, I don't feel like it's a really gnarly situation because I manage my vaginal health really well. But I would like to like overpower these fuckers somehow.
Yeah.
So that's when I got the suppository version, and I got them from a company called Love Wellness. And of course, like once I got on this track, Instagram was like sending me all the ads for like, do you suffer from chronic UTIs? Blah blah blah. It's like, oh my gosh, people. But this was a really great product. And so I will use it both in response to when I'm feeling things getting out of whack. I'll also use it proactively, like before and after our period. That's when our pH levels change the most. That's when we are more vulnerable to different bacterial overgrowth because the pH level has changed. And so it's a great time to supplement your natural bacterial flora with something that just kind of helps overpower the ones that want to come in and dominate. It's like, nope, not your turn. I say no to that. So I will take just one, like on the day or two before my moon and then on the day after my moon. And I've noticed I'm less itchy. I feel cleaner. I feel more in balance. It's just like it keeps me feeling good throughout my whole cycle. And then I don't need to do a whole lot of other stuff except steam every once in a while and, weave those things in. So it's helping me keep more balanced. The other thing that you can supplement with if you are prone to your pH being off is boric acid. And boric acid can be taken as a suppository as well. I think that's how it's most effective, is just to have that direct application, and that'll keep your vagina nice and acidic how it likes to be. And if you aren't great at your post-sex hygiene, where you are like, I'm going to be a little lazy tonight and I'm going to sleep instead of going to pee and flushing my system, which sometimes, let's be real, we all do. You can pop in a boric acid supplement, and that will help eliminate any risk of your pH being off balance and then the not so nice bacteria starting to proliferate, getting up into your urinary tract and doing all of the nasty things that they can do. So I love those two products to just help manage my bacterial flora. And I am a daily probiotic user as well, just orally. So I take actually 2 probiotics, one meant for the digestive tract, one meant for the vaginal tract. And between all of those things, my vagina has never been healthier. She, according to my husband, smells and tastes great. So I'm like, great. Like, for the win. I think we're all much happier because I'm actually taking care of myself down there, and it feels really good.
That's awesome. So it's not just a pussy gummy away. Seems like we're
No, not
there's just
probably
like in
not.
life,
There's a little
right?
more
There's
to it.
there's
Yeah.
no just a pill that fixes everything. You got to put effort into it.
Yes.
So we've talked about this amongst girls and stuff, and what brought it up was a conversation I had with Steph, but also like my son's helping me with laundry now, and he put my underwear up on the line. He's like, why is it
What's
like
that?
different color right here? Like the pussy acid, like bleach. What's up with that? Is that like when you need
Yeah.
something, or does that mean you're good? Like means your pussy needs steaming?
That's That's pretty normal. I mean, that's a sign of a nice acidic discharge, which is what you're looking for. We have healthy discharge that changes a little bit throughout our cycle, and it's great to track it. So, what I do is in my shower, I will just pop my fingers up in there, get a little sample for myself, and then take a look and see what it is that's going on. And I've actually shown my daughter how to do this and like what it looks like. It's pretty intimate, so that might not be in your wheelhouse as a parent. But for me, I'm like, hey, you're not shy about this right now. You're curious. Let me get it while the getting's good so that you have the information from a reliable source. And also continue to desexualize a naked body so that there's not always only that association with being a naked woman or seeing a naked woman. So I check my discharge pretty regularly. And if you wear panties, I am a commando girl like 90% of the time. So I don't even have that situation. And I guess my clothes are at enough of a distance that I don't bleach them. But it is super normal. And I noticed that when I did wear underwear that I would get that like light spot, or it would get a little, if you wear black underwear, it'll get like a little reddish because it's starting to pull the pigment out of the fabric. And that's totally normal. Of course, we're going to recommend you wear breathable fabrics so that you have nice aeration down below, because if you don't, that can be one thing that contributes to your pH levels getting off kilter. If you wear your yoga pants too long after yoga class, or you don't wear breathable fabrics, that can mean that your vagina has to do a lot of extra work to stay in balance, and you don't want to have that task on her.
Thank you.
Can we rewind back to when you check yourself for the healthy?
It's like an oil check for your
Yeah,
pussy.
like how do you oil check yourself, and how do you know if the oil's good? Tell us, please. And
Yes.
I don't know if
Yes.
everybody
So
knows this. Do you
I-
know this?
I know there's like a rule of like
Yeah,
the clarity, maybe.
Yeah, right. But that's like showing, like
That's
if it's
ovulation.
that time of the month, right?
Yeah, I think that's more
Yeah.
population.
Yeah.
Tell us what the dipstick's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
The dipstick, first of all, you have varying level of internal moisture throughout the month, so that's normal. What I find is that the time, like the week following my cycle, I have a lot more like discharge lubrication, and that makes sense because it's your system trying to finish that process of clearing out last month's blood. And so at that time, what is normal, quote unquote, is like a slightly creamy, more on the white end versus like a yellow end of like a little bit of a discharge. It's got a little thickness to it. It's not quite like semen, but it's not all that dissimilar, right? And actually, our substances between the two genders are really similar, with the exception of we don't have sperm in ours, right? But the seminal fluid is very similar to vaginal discharge, which is no surprise because we're all made up of the same parts, just arranged differently. So you're looking for that kind of like slippery, not necessarily too elastic at this point in your cycle, but slippery, moist feeling, and like a creamy white color. That's what you're looking for. And you might find that a little bit of it might gather in your labia minora, like in your vulva. So when you're cleaning yourself out, if you have like a little bit of kind of like semi-dried discharge, that's a normal thing. Now, if it's like cottage cheese, then you're probably looking at a yeast overgrowth. And that's when you want to get some support, talk to your medical provider about what you can do to help alleviate that. And certainly a steam will help a lot in that department. And then as you go on toward ovulation, your discharge is going to get more clear, and it's also going to get stretchier and stringier. So it's going to start behaving like and looking like and feeling like egg whites. And when if you go up and do your oil check, your dipstick, and you pull out your fingers and you stretch them out, you'll see that it like starts to stretch between your fingers. Whereas earlier in your cycle, it doesn't do that. It just kind of like, it's just a
It
kind of
looks
a
like
liquidy,
bubbles.
kind of like
You
a
know,
thick
like
liquid.
when you dip the little bubble wand and it's got that film, that's what it reminds me of. That film on the bubble wand.
It's very similar to that.
Yeah.
So those are all healthy discharges. Now, if you start seeing things that are greenish or yellowish, that's the sign that you are fighting an infection most likely. And so that's when you want to get some extra support of some kind. If I notice that, my first vehicle to to attack it with is going to be a steam, and then probably either a vaginal probiotic or boric acid. You don't use those things at the same time. So what you might do is a boric acid first to reacidify and then to repopulate with the healthy bacteria. So that's probably what I would do. And then I would like see, how are we looking now? Is it still doing funky things, or am I feeling pretty good? And then you want to also just like monitor your odors, right? And you'll probably notice this more often than not when you're getting into bed at night. It's like you get into bed, you pull the covers on. If you sleep naked, like I do, if something is off, you're going to smell it. And it's going to smell either a little yeasty, like sometimes Tigray will be like, smells like you're baking bread down there. And I'm like, yeah, got to do something, right? You got to do something about that. It's off, right? It's not neutral smelling. And if it gets a little bit fishy, right? And we hear about that and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so shameful. Like our vaginas smell like fish. You aren't typically going to smell like fish unless it's a little bit off, unless you need to cleanse a little bit more thoroughly. It's not a call for a douche. Those are typically pretty unhealthy. But to wash yourself with something that's pH neutral, there's a lot of products out there now. A company called Honey Pot is really good, where they make like a little foaming wash. And
I
it's
love
all,
their pads.
you know,
I use their pads.
yeah,
I love them so much.
they're
Honey
so
Pot.
great. And they were developed
Yeah.
They were developed by a woman who was trying to solve some of these major issues that we face. So really love that. And,
Yeah, my nanny
you know,
was
those are
saying,
signs that things are a little off.
my nanny was saying that she had seen something about how you're technically not supposed to like put soap down there.
No,
Like
no.
maybe
You
on the
will-
skin
you will
outside,
smell
but not
fishy.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, if you wash yourself too thoroughly, your vagina has to overcompensate because you've stripped her of all of that natural mucus, the lubrication, the oils, the pH. Like she is a self-cleaning organ. So she doesn't actually need much help in the cleanliness department. She just needs us to shower after we have sex, or pee after we have sex, shower after we do hot yoga, we get all sweaty after exercise, and just gently washing the outside parts and maybe just the labia minora, like those internal lips. But you do not ever want to put soap up into your vagina. It is absolutely non-beneficial. So we don't want to do that, and it's not necessary.
I just been doing it all wrong then.
I know. I do the lather it up and then
Me too.
you know, and then let the
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
cleanse
and then
out.
I even spread the cheeks and let it flush out with
Yeah.
the water. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trippy.
Water's fine, you know, and
Overwashing
it's
it is no good.
Okay.
yeah, don't need to wash it, but do your oil check. And like, that's how I clean myself. I don't use soap, but I will like clean my hands. So I'm not bringing extra bacteria in there, but I'll just go in there and like do a swipe. Like, let me just like, whatever is still hanging out in there, I'm just going to help you get on out. And then the nature will take care of the rest.
Damn. Well, I definitely need a steam then. That's amazing. Because that'll make me feel
It's
better
so
about
delightful.
letting go of that bad habit of over cleaning, because there is something for me there. The fishy, the whatever. Like I feel
She's
like
not
she
a
needs
dirty
to be
place.
See, I thought mine was a dirty bitch, and she's humble. So I need to kind of change
She's
that.
humble. She's just like, stop putting soap in me, bitch. I don't need that shit.
Oh my God, I love this.
I feel so extremely seen about my bleached all black underwear having that little bleachy looking thing on like every single one of them.
Yeah.
Like I've fucked up my underwear. Like what's up?
That was one of our first
normal.
That was our first personal conversation I ever had with you as a friend. She's like, do your underwear have like bleach? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you know where your pussy is? It gets all like discolored. I'm like, yeah, I do. And I felt so seen by you that we both talked about that, because it's like embarrassing
So
to admit
normal.
that. So, and I love that we're all friends. We talk
normal.
about, you know, I know our husbands think that we talk about pussy all the time, but I say it's mainly on the podcast and a little on the side, but this is the best. I really appreciate it.
Crotchless panties can be your friend too if you still like the look of underwear, but also the freedom of going commando. It's a really nice middle ground that's really sexy as well. So highly recommended.
I'm afraid of bleaching my pants.
You won't. You won't. I swear to the goddess or whoever and whatever is out there that I go commando I'm commando right now.
Good for you.
And I don't bleach my clothes at all.
Okay.
So whatever it is just a little more distance or what have you, but it's totally fine. Plus the fabrics of our pants and things, it's just thicker fabric. So even if it does bleach it on the inside, it's not going to go to the outside.
See, I've tried, man, but I feel like my pussy don't like it. Like she needs that little artificial
That's cool.
cushion. I don't know why, but I've tried even like yoga or whatever because I want to be commando. It just sounds like liberating. But I feel like my pussy gets uncomfortable with certain pants, or you know what I mean. I don't know.
That's cool.
Mine is
that's great.
mine's just use case of I ran out of underwear.
Like in that case, laundry day is
Yeah.
atrocious.
Well, I got mosquito bit one time. I was wearing shorts and I like these shorts and fucking mosquito went up in those lips and had a little sucky suck. I was like, son of a bitch. And so I'm like,
rude.
itch my pussy, you know?
Oh my god.
That's so rude.
This happened this last
I've
summer.
not had that happen.
Oh my god, Ryan was cracking up. I was like, we met some people at the campsite and it had happened there and I'm like, all I can think is, you know, I'm trying to be present and meet these people. All I wanted to do is itch my pussy so bad while I was talking to these people.
Well, you know it's like there's so many capillaries there. And
Yes.
mosquitoes
Yeah.
like, yes, lunch time.
It's like that pussy
treasure
smell
trove.
pussy. Yeah, we
That's
had a
the
field day with that one. Remember Ryan
treasure
goes,
cave.
I understand why he bit that shit. It's good.
Yeah, delicious. Good on you, mosquito. Way to be wise.
Oh my god. I mean, did we get through all of our
I
goodies?
think we got through it all, Lola, unless there's something
Amazing.
we're missing.
I love this.
I love it. And I love because Vanessa, when we were talking about this by text to plan this episode, you're like, can we even like really fill like 30 minutes
I
with
know.
this? And I was like, oh yeah, here's all the things.
I know, dude. We could fill it in more. I should have known better.
Yeah.
We always get our extra
Yeah.
stuff that we add in and love. Thank you so much, Lola.
It's so
I love
fun.
having you, and people love listening to
Yes,
you.
they love listening to all your brilliance. Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you. And can you give people
You're welcome.
any information about you if they're interested in being your clients, or you know, can you give that information now before we say goodbye?
For sure. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, I love to take this conversation into a more official context and have some really fun ways to work together. And I promise you they're safe emotionally and physically as well. So people can come and find me at Lola-L'amour.com. So that's my last name is Lamour, like love in French. So Lola-L'amour.com. And you can reach out on my contact page. I'll see it and just, you know, say hi. I heard you on the podcast and I'm interested in exploring what it might be like to work together. And we'll set up a conversation and see what it is that you're working with and what's the best fit. And I would love to do that.
Well, thank you. And I'm sure there's people that I've heard you a few times that I want to be your, I don't know if you call it clients or what would you call them? Your peeps, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, my clients.
Yeah.
My
and I love
peeps, my
that.
homies, my clients, my community.
I love it.
All of that. And I work with people all over the world. So you don't have to be local to San Diego. There's all kinds of ways we can work together.
Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Lola.
We love you.